This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, welcome to Moments of Clarity. My name is Tiffany Werner. I am a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. Today I have a live guest in studio. He is an inspiration to so many, and he's a published author and a comedian, and he's actually pretty funny. Not one of those.
We'll see about that today.
First, I want to say hi to Ed behind the glass. Happy post-Christmas.
I survived.
You survived? It's still going on for some people, and especially with the holiday bustle and everything. Today's the biggest day to return gifts.
Right. That's true.
Day after Christmas, and happy holidays to everybody, and Merry Christmas, and have a safe New Year. Just saying that right now. Speaking on that note, my guest today, his life changed in the beginning of his life from a fatal car accident, and he was only 8 weeks old, and he has published this book called The Magic of Life, and he talk a little bit. It was a drunk driver that killed his mother and nearly himself as an infant, and he found the magic of life. And despite breaking almost all of his bones in the car crash, he went on to become a collegiate swimmer, comedian, college educator, author, and professional speaker. And he's dedicated his life in trying to prevent impaired driving so that others don't experience the same pain as him and countless other families. And I'm going to welcome to Moments of Clarity, Michael Gershe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. You drove in a far way, got stuck in traffic and everything?
Yeah, I came from Davie. I left yesterday and just got here.
So it's like Miami, 4 hours?
Right. I had some traffic in Sarasota, so I had many moments of clarity on the highway. Yeah.
Every time you say that.
It's the only thing I remember the whole way here. Just remember to say that phrase. and that was it.
Moments of clarity, get to bell.
Right. Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I was here on for a week, and I figured it would just be really fun and cool to come in person rather than just on the phone. So here I am.
It's and I love the effort too.
Right.
And I wanted to have his story right after Christmas because like a lot of people, we don't remember how much to be grateful for.
Right, as they're returning all their gifts. Yesterday, oh, thank you very much, I love you. Today is, I don't want this piece of crap, and they're going to go return it for something else.
Yes, but the thought was there that they have something to return.
Correct.
Now, right?
Right, the thought is always there.
So, I mean, you do. And so how was your holiday? You were down in Miami?
Yeah, I was in Davie visiting a family. It was pretty good. I still have a few more days to go for Hanukkah. I don't even know what day it is. I think it's day 35, to be honest with you. Usually I'm not allowed to light candles unsupervised for the menorah. So luckily this year, my brother is there watching me.
Unsupervised?
Yeah, unsupervised.
Why? Is there a story behind that?
No, I just don't think people trust me with all those candles and fire. It's really what it comes down to.
Sure there's not a story behind that?
None that I could say here.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
no story. I haven't burned down anything. It's pretty good. But usually when people think about me holding all those candles and flames, they think, oh, you need to be supervised. So not this year.
Yeah. Oh, not this year.
And I hope you had a good Christmas, too.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the new year, so.
Yeah. Everyone is. It's a whole different decade.
Right.
That's the way to look
at it. That's right, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to hit 50 next year. Well, that's
good for you.
Yeah. I have to make it.
Long time to survive, especially after this. So The Magic of Life, it's a good read. It's kind read. It also has pictures of your family and stuff like that, too. And I like how the font's really big, and you can get through half the book, and you're like, wow.
Well, excuse me, this is actually the second edition. The first one I did, the format was a little bit bigger, so it was like 9 by 11, so I call that the coloring book. And then I realized how to format it properly, so now it's on this one. But a lot of people say they like it's an easy read.
Yeah, it's easy.
And the pictures are in there, and it doesn't pop up, no pop-up pictures. But
that to be the third edition.
Right. And it took me 17 years to write. So I was really happy to be done with it this June. So it's out there, and everyone has an incredible story to share and tell, no matter who you are. And I've just been blessed enough to be able to share mine. To be alive, but also to share it and change lives. So it's really nice.
So what happened? Let's go back to...
So way back in 1970, September 19th, I was born July 24th, and then 8 weeks later, my father was driving us home from Long Island. My brother was 3 at the time, sleeping in the back seat, not wearing his seatbelt. Excuse me, because it was the 70s. No one wore their seatbelts.
Right.
You couldn't find them. They were always stuffed down the cushion anyway. And we were about less than a mile away from a house. My dad was driving. My mom was in the front middle seat, and I was next to her in a little baby carrier. And as our light turned green, a drunk driver plowed through the intersection and T-boned the car. And the force of the impact was so great, it pushed our car into a telephone pole and split the car all the way up to the dashboard. But when the first responders arrived, they just found this mangled metal a mess. In the 70s, they built cars to last, not like today, where you fart on a smart car and it blows over for 3 or 4 miles. But they built cars.
Yeah,
and
they did.
And they woke up
classics now.
Right. Yeah, and it woke up the neighbors from around the intersection, and they came out to see. And they, when the first responders arrived, they found my father, my brother, and my mom. They didn't find me. My dad was knocked unconscious. It turns out, so they didn't know where I was. So the first responders didn't know there was anyone else in the car. It turns out my aunt, my mom's sister, her brother-in-law was the one that found me in the car. Because when he came, because he lived around the intersection, he said, well, someone's missing. Where's Michael? And then they found me, and then the 4 of us were taken to...
Where were you?
We were, I was sandwiched between the door and the dash of the car.
Oh, wow.
So if you think about a baby 8 weeks old, I wasn't making any noise, so of course they didn't know I was there. And we were all taken to the same hospital. My brother didn't have a scratch on him, which is pretty much of a miracle. My dad had to get some stitches from the glass, the windshield. My mom was taken into surgery, and my injuries were so severe, all my bones were broken, my skull was fractured from one side to the other, and I was life-flighted to another hospital, which really upset me because I had a helicopter ride that I don't remember, and I'd like to have another one because that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So my dad, is going through this. Well, in one hospital is his son, with the doctors saying, well, your son is touch and go. We have no idea if he's going to survive. And his wife is in surgery. I had to get many blood transfusions. I have a couple of scars. I have like one on the inside of my elbow and 2 on my ankles from all the blood transfusions I've received. And so... you're a parent, and my dad said I looked like Jell-O, but I grew up to be somewhat normal. The doctors had no idea if I was going to have brain damage because they had to keep taking me to the hospital every so often to make sure I didn't, and I'm perfectly fine. I know my friends and some family. Yeah, I have witnesses, but they're never going to testify to that. But I grew up to be a competitive swimmer. When I went into speech therapy, we didn't know if it was due to the car crash or just normal, childhood pains. But I've been blessed. And unfortunately, my mom, who was 28, died due to her injuries. So I never even had a chance to know my mother because someone drove drunk and took that away. The word mom isn't in my own vocabulary. The word mother is, and it's usually followed by another word when I'm stuck in traffic. I think I did that today on the drive here many times. But I grew up, I didn't know it was even drunk driving until high school. My dad never talked about it. We talked about grief earlier, especially men. We bottle all that up inside. And it was I knew my mom was dead because every school form I had to write, mother's name deceased on every form. And I was about 15 or so, went back to my dad's room to get his wallet, and next to his wallet was the press release. And I was like 15 or so, and that's when I knew it was drunk driving. And from that point on, I went, okay, I can't let my mom's death be for nothing. Right. So that put me on the path that I am today, because I didn't want other people going through it either, because it's preventable, first of all. And my brother and I were raised by a Jamaican woman, too. So you take this horrible situation, and my grandparents put an ad in the newspaper for part-time help. And this woman who was on vacation from England at the time answered the ad, made an appointment with my grandmother, but didn't show up. So when I give presentations, I talk about fate and how we're all brought together today by fate, even if they're listening, watching, whatever it is. And so a couple of weeks later goes by, and she saw the ad and called again, not realizing it was the same one. My grandmother remembered her voice. How can you forget a Jamaican voice, first of all? And she came to the house, and when she went upstairs to see me, she put her fingers in the crib, and she said, I latched onto them and smiled, and she said, that's where God said I have to be. And, I went, well, how did I smile? I didn't have any teeth. I was only a few months old. But she still, she raised me and my brother as her own. So,
wow.
I don't say I'm just Jewish. I'm Jewish Jamaican, because I have a white Jewish family and a black Jamaican family. And look, she loved us as her own. I kid that she beat us as her own, but she, talk about a guardian angel. I don't think I would be the person today if it wasn't for her. For her and my dad raising us both. So even though I lost my biological mom, here's this amazing woman that stepped into that role. And none of us would have expected that at all. So, I've been blessed in a way. You start off in a horrible situation, and we're all dealt a certain deck of cards. And you kind of go, well, how are you going to play those cards? I could sit and mope my entire life, but if I do that, then the man that killed my mother wins. You know? And here he took my mom. He wasn't going to take my soul. And there's days you're still angry. There's days you're still depressed. And that's what I write about in the book. Swimming really helped. My sense of humor helped. The comedy helped. Anything that you could do to share your story so other people don't go through it, I think helps. And with the grief and the mental health aspect, my moments of clarity. I saw the bell, and now I want a Scooby snack when I hear that. Came, a long time ago, where it was, you meet people when you present the program who have been impacted by drunk driving and their loss, and it's a club that no one wants to be in, but it happens. You read about it every day, and now it's the holiday time. How many people are going to be burying loved ones because they're, people are drinking and driving, or now it's texting and driving. I can't tell you how many people almost hit me on the way here because they're on their phones. Yeah, and
it's against the law too.
Yeah, it's incredible, and our lives are short as is. So to put that our lives at risk or other people's lives at risk when you're on the road is, it has to stop. But it's been pretty cool, and it was right before we went on air. Earlier, I said I was going to be 50 next year. I can't believe that, because I know at 8 weeks old, I very well could have died and not have this life. And you look back and kind of go, it's been pretty amazing to incorporate everything. And now with the book, I wrote it, I finished it last year, and then I published it this year. So
it's got a little bit of sense of humor in it, too.
Yeah, it has a lot of humor in there. Pictures of me. I was a swimmer, so the book is really called The Magical Life, A Son's Story of Hope After Tragedy, Grief, and a Speedo. And, yeah. In fact, I'm wearing one right now. And not comfortable anymore. Not like I used to be. But there's no pictures of me as an adult in a Speedo, because the world doesn't need to see that at all. But my friend Greg Morton, who was on America's Got Talent, was the semifinals. Made me promise to write the book 17 years ago. And I started it, procrastinated, and then I finally finished it, because last year, 2018, my dad died in January, and then my aunt died 90 days later, and that's put me in a spiral of out of control with the grief and depression.
Because it's all going to trigger stuff from the past. Hang on one second, Michael. It's time for our first break.
Okay.
But we're going to take our first break, and I want to get into more of the comedy stuff and more of the book. And it's called The Magic of Life, a son's story after tragedy, grief, and a Speedo. We'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Tiffany Werner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, Please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take